Storing wine isn't as simple as setting it down on your countertop. Wine isn't a static solution. It's a dynamic mixture of chemicals that continue to react with one another long after the wine has been bottled and sold. In order to preserve the flavor and aroma of your wine, a wine cooler needs to control 4 different factors: temperature, vibration, light, and position. Today we'll be talking about temperature. Temperature directly affects chemical reaction rates. The more heat you add to a system, the faster the chemicals in it react with one another. This is very important for a bottle of wine because these reactions determine its taste and consistency and how well a bottle of wine ages. Wine contains over 1,000 different ingredients, but not all of these ingredients react to temperature in the same way. Ingredients with a low heat threshold react about 4 times faster than ingredients with a high heat threshold, which is why you can't age a bottle of wine simply by heating it up. All the components age at different rates, and what you end up with is a mess of flavors. At about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, all these reactions proceed at roughly the same rate. There's an exception for white wine. Sometimes it's best to store it a little colder. NewAir wine coolers provide very strict temperature controls. Once you set the temperature on the control panel, the cooler immediately starts chilling your wine. Once it reaches the set temperature, it keeps it there using a thermostat that automatically reactivates the cooling mechanism whenever temperatures start creeping up again. That way your wine always stays in the safe range, which is about 1 or 2 degrees above 55 degrees Fahrenheit. The outside is protected by 3 layers of insulation and dual or triple pane glass doors. These prevent temperatures outside from affecting temperatures inside. It's still not a good idea to place your cooler next to a major heat source like a stove or an oven, but you can place them nearly anywhere else in your home and trust that it will age your wine to the right consistency. This week, we'll be looking at the role vibration plays in wine storage. Vibration does 2 things. It stirs up sediment and upsets the aging process. A bottle of wine contains over 1,000 different ingredients that react and interact with one another. In order to age your wine to the right consistency, all these reactions have to happen at roughly the same pace. Vibrations prevent this by adding bursts of kinetic energy into your wine. Kinetic energy is the energy an object possesses when it's in motion. The more kinetic energy your wine has, the more quickly its ingredients will react with one another. Vibration also stirs up sediment. Sediment is a natural part of the aging process. It occurs when tannins bind together to form long chains called polymers. Eventually, these polymers get big enough that they drop out of the wine and settle at the bottom of the bottle. Sediment isn't dangerous, but it does have an unpleasant texture, which is why wine lovers try to keep as much of it out of their glass as possible. That's why NewAir Gold Series wine coolers come with a 3-rail sliding shelf system. It allows you to slide your wine smoothly out of the cooler without any jarring stops. That way, the sediment stays at the bottom of the bottle and doesn't get mixed in with the rest of the wine. However, the Gold Series also has compressors. Compressors are great at controlling temperature, but they do send out small vibrations whenever they kick on. The multiple shelving system in the Gold Series prevents these vibrations from having much of an effect, or you can get a thermoelectric wine cooler. Thermoelectric wine coolers are chilled using something called a Peltier device. It's a small plate that separates hot and cold particles. They're not as powerful as compressors, but they are completely vibration-free. In this video, we'll be looking at the role light plays in wine storage. Light is extremely harmful to wine. It breaks down the complex molecules that give wine its unique flavor, and it accelerates the oxidation of sulfur-containing amino acids, which ruin its taste and aroma. Though exposure to any light is bad, it's sunlight that's the real problem. It contains 4,200 times as many UV rays as fluorescent light. Ordinary wine coolers do a poor job of protecting your wine from light because they use clear glass doors. There are 2 types of UV radiation: UVA and UVB. Clear glass blocks 97% of UVB radiation, but only 37% of UVA radiation, which has a longer wavelength and penetrates objects more easily. But this isn't a problem for the NewAir Gold Series wine coolers. They use triple pane glass doors that do an excellent job of blocking light. The outer layer is made of smoked glass, which blocks 47% of all the light that strikes the unit. The inner layers have been treated with a special UV-resistant material that blocks 50% of all the remaining UV radiation that's entering the unit. This means that less than 2% of all the UVB and less than 1/3 of all the UVA that strikes the unit actually gets inside. It's still not a good idea to store your wine coolers in direct sunlight, but you can store them in almost any room in your house and not worry about whether or not the reflected light will damage the wine inside. In this video, we'll be looking at the correct position to store your wine in. You've seen wine stored upright at the grocery store. That makes it easy to see the label, but it isn't good for your wine. The wine and the cork should always be in constant contact. When they aren't, the cork dries out, which causes it to shrink, crack, and let in oxygen. Wine has a complicated relationship with oxygen. In small doses, it helps stabilize the wine's color and flavor, but in large doses, it promotes the growth of acidic bacteria, which turns your wine into vinegar, and creates a chemical called aldehyde, which gives your wine a stale, pungent flavor. Since the only way for oxygen to enter the bottle is through the cork, you need to preserve it. And the best way to do that is to store your wine inside. As long as the wine and the cork are touching, the cork will stay hydrated to preserve its seal. That's why all NewAir wine coolers are designed with slotted shelves. They cradle your wine inside so that the wine and the cork are always in constant contact.